Mickey Dickey here, and giving you my updates for the stocks that I'm looking for next week. And again, these are not stocks I'm suggesting people buy, sell, trade, or do anything with, other than take a look at the trends that they're providing for us, because these are what I'm looking at for next week to see how I'm managing my clients' portfolios. So the first thing we have for next week is Coca-Cola. Again, I'm looking for trends to see how they're saying handling increases in prices and if they're seeing more inflation coming down from their upline. Ameriprise Financial, I'm looking at as it's a financial institution. It's not a bank. So I'm interested to see how it's handling all that's going on with the deposit inflows and outflows. PKG is a packaging company. So again, I'm looking for inflation items here. Are they seeing a lot of costs in their upline and downline? Cleveland Cliffs is a steel producer, manufacturer. So I'm interested to see where they're coming from. Tuesday kind of really jumps up quite a bit because now you've got Microsoft, you've got Google, you got Visa, Pepsi, McDonald's, UPS, Sherwin-Williams, General Motors. You've got Kimberly-Clark, Dow, Spotify, and ARC. Now, again, there's a nice variety here. And when you look at what I'm looking at, again, I'm not, there's a lot of other stocks that are reporting these days. So please understand, these are ones I'm picking out because I want to see the trends that are coming in these. And if you think about it, you've got Sherwin-Williams, who's in the builder business. Haven't done exceedingly well. The last few weeks or so, it's actually come up quite a bit. Went from 205 to 233, but before that was down quite a bit. With all the builders being up, it's interesting that Sherwin hasn't followed. So I'm interested to see their trends and what they're seeing, and maybe the residential versus the commercial side of it. Kimberly-Clark, we just had Procter & Gamble report, solid numbers. I'm interested to see if they're seeing the same thing, not a deterioration in people buying down to other products that aren't brand name labeled. Dow, again, Dow Chemicals, I'm interested to see how they're doing. Spotify is going to be interesting because it's, again, one of these growth stocks that isn't very profitable. I'm interested to see how the market responds to what their quarter is and to seeing if we're actually having one of the big things for Spotify and the like is advertising. I'm interested to see how the advertising is going to be coming for them. Now, ARCC it owns a bunch, so I'm interested to see how they're coming along. Again, you've got UPS and McDonald's. So all this is going to give us a nice variety and a wide range of what's going on. Now, the interesting thing for you in McDonald's is that it's definitely at an all-time high and has been for several weeks. So I'm interested to see how that's continuing to come on and what they're seeing as far as trends. Wednesday, we've got Facebook, Meta. Sorry, I have a hard time not calling it Facebook. And then you have AMT. Now, AMT is American Tower, and it is a REIT and owns a bunch of cell towers. So again, I'm interested to see how this is handling the real estate debacle. Now, most REITs go hand in hand, which is interesting because I understand there's some pressure and I want to continue to see how the commercial real estate is performing. But when I look at a REIT like AMT that's mainly cell towers, I don't know that I see the same issues, but it seems to go hand in hand. So it's going to be interesting to see what their numbers are and what they're showing, and then again, how the market responds to a company like AMT. And then you've got O'Reilly, then you got Norfolk Southern, if I can say it correctly. And again, more interested on the railways with them to seeing how things are going from some of the derailments and how it's actually hurt them and what they think is going to go forward with this. And O'Reilly, again, is more of a retail play. Then you've got Hilton Hotels. The next one is American Water. That one's an interesting play because it's more of a utility and hasn't done exceedingly well. I'm kind of curious to see how some of these utilities are handling the economy going forward. And then you've got eBay, Roku, again, more growth stocks that have been punished over the last couple of years. You've got Wyndham Hotels, Meritage Homes. I'm throwing another home builder on here. All of them are getting to their all-time highs. And so I'm interested to see what they're going to say to some extent. They're probably going to continue to say the same thing everybody else is. And what I've said before, and I'll continue to say this, my concern is, are we overbuilding? Everybody can keep saying that we're not. And we're starting to see where the real estate market has leveled off, even though the interest rates are higher. Now, it's not going up 20% year over year like it was last year, but the deterioration in the market seems to be holding. And Again, if it is a scenario where we're really not overbuilding the new construction homes, we may not see a decline at all. So that's one of the concerns is you've heard me talk about before. The two things I'm really looking at as far as whether we truly go into a recession is unemployment and real estate. So unemployment has continued to hold, and real estate is holding. Again, it's down. It's not up 20% year over year for last year, but the real estate prices are holding the line. Now the other one, there's Teladoc and TDOC. This one has been just crushed, down from $308 a share. Last I checked, it was under 30. It's been taking a lot of, and I'm going to call them paper losses, and I'm probably saying it incorrectly. They bought another company for $19 billion a few years ago, and they've been writing off the loss on that because they're only worth about $5 billion total now between the two companies. At one point, they were worth almost $38 billion. Now, the market has punished them for doing all of these things, but this is the premier dock on your phone, so to speak. I don't care how you want to look at it, but I'm interested to see how this goes forward because there is a future for this company, and at some point they're going to stop taking those write-offs. And does it turn around? Because there is a long-term market for it. So I'm curious to see what they do this quarter, and again, more importantly, how does the market respond to it? Because like I said, on the home builders, kind of expecting the market to sell them off, and they really haven't. It's held its own. And then when you take a look at Thursday, you've got Amazon, MasterCard, and there's a slew of pharmaceuticals: Eli Lilly, Merck, AbbVie, AstraZeneca, Gilead, Amgen, just tons of them in there. And I grouped them together. Not normally do I care all that much about pharmaceuticals. It's not been my thing. And not that they're bad companies. I'm just saying they don't show me a whole lot of trends. But it's interesting to me that they're all reporting on the same day. And as a result, I'm going to probably take a look at them as a group to see how they do and if there's any differences in them. Then you come into Caterpillar, Honeywell, Snap, and American Airlines. Again, another well-rounded day with a whole lot of different going on with Caterpillar and Honeywell. Snap's going to be interesting because of Snapchat and some of the programs that they've rolled out recently to see how that works. So again, they're advertising, and it's going to be interesting to see how, because they're reporting in the same time frame as Facebook, Meta, and maybe Meta changed how they were doing this before, because a lot of times they've been after the fact, and it has always been interesting to me, and in some of my other videos, if you've seen, it's interesting to me that a Snap or a Spotify will affect how investors think on Meta. Again, the size of the two of them versus Meta is not even close. And to think that somebody would, and the same thing with Google, that someone would stop advertising on Spotify or Snap and that would have any effect on Google and Meta is baffling to me, because again, you might not invest in advertising on Spotify or Snap, but the last place you're going to pull your advertising is going to be Google. So I don't see the comparison there. And again, Fridays aren't normally big days for me, but this particular week you've got Exxon and Chevron, and you've got Sony, Charter, Colgate, and the last one down there is Sun Country Airlines. Most of you probably don't even know who they are. They're a company out of Minneapolis that does a lot of freight and a lot of things that are under the radar, but they also do a lot of destinations. So they've got a lot of flights that'll go to Mexico, or especially from up north down in it. So they're a discount flyer from that aspect. They IPO'd a few years ago and have been crushed since that time. So it'll be interesting to see how they come around with everything that's going on in the airline industry, because again, the airlines aren't doing spectacularly well, which kind of goes back to American back on Thursday. So a very interesting week, a lot of variety for us to take a look at. And again, I'm not saying that there's not other things to look at in here, but what you have here is going to give you a pretty good idea of what's really going on in the market, which the interesting part of all of this is, again, how is the market going to look at it? Because you've got a Sherwin-Williams here that's, again, underperformed the housing market, yet the housing companies are doing great. How's it going? And then you've got Cleveland Cliffs. When we start breaking it all together, the trends that we're going to see out of this is going to be interesting to see how the market responds, if anything. It might just be that we get another week like this week where we get a lot of really good earnings, but the earnings were beating numbers that were lowered, so the market didn't. Again, it wasn't a sell-off, but it wasn't anything. Even though the numbers were better than expected, the market didn't respond to it in a positive way. So again, as we go through each of these things, keep an eye if there's something in here that does fit what you're looking for your long-term financial plans. Talk to your financial advisor, make sure it works. But otherwise, it's just about the trends that I'm looking at on these stocks. And hopefully they'll give us a pretty good insight of what's going on and what the future of the market is going to be. Again, trying to help you be able to retire when you want to retire and how you want to retire. Dickie out.